We begin in Kansas City with the NFL Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City top stars Tyreek Hill and Chris Jones had some talk about creating a dynasty. Tyreek Hill, I'm going to quote Tyreek Hill. This is Tyreek Hill. He said, I'm just proud of the Chiefs in general for getting all these deals done, man, because they understood right now is our time. Like, this is our window to be great for us to build that dynasty. That was Tyreek Hill using that dynasty word. Here was Chris Jones also. Here's Chris Jones. I quote, "This is only the beginning. Be prepared to have another parade and another parade. We're going to make sure we bring not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but plus rings to Kansas City. It's been 50 years of waiting, but the wait is over. It's time to create a dynasty." That was Chris Jones with his LeBron James impersonation, talking about the word dynasty. So, Clarence, as we open up the show today, let's talk about the NFL Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Can the Kansas City Chiefs build a dynasty?
That's that's like an intriguing question, Mr. Larkin. Let me name the key players of the dynasty that the Chiefs are trying to build. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Tyrann Matthews, and we all know Mahomes. It takes these players right here to make it all happen, Trey. These players right here, they got to come lights out each and every game. And honestly, these guys that I named are the most important players on this team. I mean, regardless of the offensive line is being important to Mahomes, but these players that I just named are the ones that's going to help build this dynasty. Like Frank Clark is a tremendous defensive end. Chris Jones is probably one of the best nose tackles, defensive tackles in the league. And Travis Kelce, in my opinion, he's one of the best receivers. He's one of the best tight ends and the best tight end in the league. And Tyreek Hill's a top 5 receiver. So if you construct all these players into this dynasty, I truly believe that they can win multiple Super Bowl rings. They can win multiple Super Bowl rings because they have the talent on both sides of the ball to compete at the next level and can help lead this team into the Super Bowl, into the dynasty that they're trying to make. I truly believe that these 6 players that I named are beneficial to the dynasty. And if these guys are not beneficial to this dynasty, man, I don't know what to say. But I truly believe they can build a dynasty. They can build a dynasty.
Let me ask you a question. I think before we really dive into this debate and this conversation as to whether or not they can be a dynasty or not, I think we should define dynasty because that's the important part here. We got to define dynasty. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, do you think they were a dynasty with the Patriots?
Yes, I truly believe that. I believe that they built the dynasty over the time being. Like, they 11 straight divisional titles. They own the AFC East over a decade and 6 Super Bowls that they brought. And don't forget the one that back-to-back here early in Tom Brady's career. That started it right there. Then their team always been loaded with great stars and stars that's going to be future Hall of Famers in the years of coming. I truly believe Tom Brady in them days was a dynasty team.
I agree with you. I believe Tom Brady and Bill Belichick was a dynasty as well. 6-3 in the Super Bowl. Like you said, 11 straight division titles. They dominated the AFC East, and they pretty much traumatized Miami, New York, and Buffalo Bills fans for throughout the entire Tom Brady era. They pretty much dominated the entire division the whole time. So I think they were a dynasty. But I think when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, do I believe they can be a dynasty? I say no. And here's the reason why. I say no because when I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, first off, let's start off with the head coach, Andy Reid. Andy Reid, I believe he's 62 years of age. I think he is the second oldest coach in the NFL. We're not sure how much longer Andy Reid is going to be at the helm for the Kansas City Chiefs. And we know part of the reason why the Kansas City Chiefs has been successful over the last 2 years or 3 years is because Andy Reid is the head coach. Andy Reid is one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. When he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, he had the Eagles every single year. They were in the NFC Championship game, at least. Exactly. They were always in the NFC Championship game, had 1 Super Bowl appearance against Bill Belichick and the Patriots, where they came up short. But Andy Reid had the Philadelphia Eagles as a powerhouse in the NFC. Now he's in Kansas City. And since he's been in Kansas City, they have always been in the playoffs, even before Patrick Mahomes took over the starting job. They were in the playoffs when they had Alex Smith. That's because of the coaching ability of Andy Reid. Andy Reid is a player's coach, but he also knows his football. And he's put together a great, yes, I said great, system for Patrick Mahomes to thrive in. So I think you got to keep in mind, do you believe that Andy Reid, or do you think that Andy Reid is going to coach for another 10 to 15 years? I don't see it happening. I can see Andy Reid hanging him up after maybe 3 or 4 years. When I think of dynasty, I'm thinking about a 10 to 20 year span of dominance. And I think at some point, the Kansas City Chiefs will have to retool. Also, another thing you got to keep in mind, I think we're talking about the sport of football, where it is a very, very physical sport. And there have been other players that we thought were going to win Super Bowls and for their respective teams. Back when Aaron Rodgers won his Super Bowl back in 2010 as a Packers fan, I would have told you that you were crazy if in 10 years Aaron Rodgers would have had another Super Bowl on his resume. I would have said you was crazy as a Packers fan. And he does not have another Super Bowl on his resume.
Yeah.
There's so many things that have to go right for you to win a Super Bowl. Look at Drew Brees and the Saints. They won a Super Bowl back in 2009 against Peyton Manning and the Colts. Drew Brees hasn't been back to the Super Bowl, Clarence. He hasn't won the Super Bowl. It is very hard to win in the National Football League. So when you combine Andy Reid's age, how much longer he's going to play, also with the fact that football is a very physical sport, and from year to year, you don't know what's going to happen from an injury perspective, I believe it's hard to say that the Kansas City Chiefs are an NFL dynasty. I say no. Let's pump the brakes, Tyreek Hill and Chris Jones. Let's relax.
Think about it, though, man. Chris Jones to sign a big contract. He's feeling excited. He's feeling poised that this team is just the best of the best. And for Andy Reid, I truly believe that he can go 10 years. Another 10 years. Belichick, what is he, like 73, 74? He's still thriving. He's I think he's 70, but regardless, he's still thriving in the AFC, the whole AFC. And even without Tom Brady, he's still favored. They're still favored to make the playoffs because his coaching ability and the game plans that he does, and just the system that he brings to the team. But for Andy Reid, I think honestly, he's just getting started, man. He's getting started because he got a young, talented quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, which I think was better. I feel like this is the best quarterback that Andy Reid ever like coached, even over Donovan McNabb. Like I just feel like Mahomes got McNabb probably by a far yard. But Andy Reid, man, he's getting started with this dynasty, man. He's having so much success. In 3 years, he's been successful, probably been the most successful coach in a 3-year span. And these last 3 years since Mahomes been playing. And I truly believe that if these 6 players that I just named is still on the team, they can contribute, and then it can be something better and dominant. Like, I think this is a team of the Chiefs where this is a new dynasty, and there's a new sheriff in town. There is no more Patriots talks no more. There isn't. There is no more Tom Brady's going back to the Super Bowl. Who's going to play Tom Brady? Now the whole narrative is who's going to play Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And that's the tone that Andy Reid and the Chiefs are setting right now. And I truly believe that they are building a dynasty very slowly.
You see, here's the thing though. You forgot one thing, Clarence. It might not be Tom Brady and the Patriots dominating in the AFC, but guess what? We now have 2 superstar quarterbacks in Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson in the same conference as Patrick Mahomes. We're looking at Lamar Jackson, the reigning NFL MVP last year, leading the Baltimore Ravens to the #1 seed in the AFC. And guess what? Look at Deshaun Watson. I just told you about him the other day on the show. If he had Patrick Mahomes' weapons, and if he had Patrick Mahomes' support system, he would be putting up similar accomplishments as Patrick Mahomes. Look at Deshaun Watson's career. 71 touchdowns, just 29 interceptions, completed 67% of his passes. He has other superstar quarterbacks that he is going to have to compete with in the AFC. I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes can't get it done. What I'm saying is be on the lookout for Lamar Jackson, the reigning NFL MVP, and Deshaun Watson, a superstar for Houston Texans. You got to keep that in mind as well. Competition matters. And I think he's going to have to compete with these other superstar quarterbacks in order to position the Chiefs to be in a dynasty. And then you don't know what's going to happen from there. Because just because you get to the Super Bowl, that doesn't mean that you're locked to win it. That doesn't mean you're locked to win it. You still got to go. You still might have to beat the 49ers. We know the 49ers are one of the youngest teams in the NFL. They have one of the great defenses in the NFL. And I don't care what you say or other Patrick Mahomes fans say, they had him shut down for the first 3 quarters of the Super Bowl.
Man. Let it go.
They had him shut down. But you got to think, Russell Wilson, he isn't going anywhere. You got some of these veteran quarterbacks on the NFC who's still trying to win a Super Bowl before they retire. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, they still want to add Super Bowls to their resume. So I think we have to pump Tom Brady as well. I think we got to pump the brakes before we start speaking of dynasty. And I'm going to be honest, even from a basketball perspective, I had a problem with LeBron and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade when they had their party in South Beach, when LeBron decided to take his talents to Miami and team up with them. They talking about not 5, not 6. I think we got to pump the brakes and just play. Because when you do that, 9 times out of 10, you're going to underachieve. And that's exactly what happened with the Miami Heat during LeBron James' tenure.
But think about it, though, Trey. Tom Brady had the same exact talent in his time coming up. He had Ben Roethlisberger that was dominating at the time. Peyton Manning was the sheriff. People used to think Manning's better than Brady. And who else in the AFC? I ain't gonna lie.
Phillip Rivers.
Palmer at a time that was dominating, but we know unfortunately.
Don't bring up Carson Palmer before you bring up Phillip Rivers.
But think about
Phillip Rivers.
Look, listen, the Patriots held 11 straight divisional titles. The Bills ain't win a divisional title since 1995. I wasn't even born at the time. And the Miami Dolphins ain't win a division title since 2008. That's 12 years. Look, if the Chiefs can do that with a what I believe is a sneaky division with the Raiders and the Chargers and the Broncos, then you can already disclaim it like, yeah, this is a dynasty team that's probably not going to get beaten in the next upcoming year. They're so talented all over the team. The team is talented enough just to be a dynasty, right? This is a team that we go be talking about in a few years. In years, like, man, Mahomes, he's still doing his thing. Oh, who gonna beat him now? Now Lamar.
Yeah, but hold on now. Wait a minute. That's you said we're gonna still be talking about Patrick Mahomes. Just because we're talking about you in the Super Bowl conversation doesn't mean that you're a dynasty. A dynasty, when I'm thinking about an NFL dynasty, I'm thinking about a team over a 10 to 20 year span that wins at least more than 5 Super Bowls. I'm not ready to go there just yet. I'm not ready to go there just yet.
You talking about 5 Super Bowls?
If you we talking about dynasty, right? That's why I said we got to be clear about what our definition of dynasty is. Because I think the Patriots were a dynasty. I truly believe that. You have to win at least 4 or 5 Super Bowls to be a dynasty. But it's the thing. Patrick Mahomes still has at least 16 or 17 years in the NFL to play. And especially with the way they protect the quarterbacks now, maybe even 20 years. Who knows how much longer Patrick Mahomes is going to play.
Look, I'm just saying, in the next 10 years, Patrick Mahomes should at least bring back like 3 Super Bowls. Because the way his contract is paying him, he should at least bring back 3 or 4 Super Bowls, man. Because 2 Super Bowls is not going to satisfy nothing. That's not, you're going to be like, what, LeBron James, three finals in 17 years? That's not satisfaction. And what he's doing is breaking all the records so he can still get that recognition. And we all know how great a player he is, but at the same time, championships matter. And I truly believe if they bring the Chiefs, Andy Reid, Mahomes, they bring 3 more Super Bowls, we can start considering them as a dynasty team, like a dynasty team, man.